Hey guys, sorry it's a little messy in here. I'm actually in the process of moving right now, so got quite a mess of boxes and things. But after the success of my first novel, The Price of Renewal, I could not stop writing. I just got sucked into the process of creating a world and creating all these characters and stuff, and I really enjoy writing fiction. So I'm very happy to be able to announce the release of my second novel, Wrath of Torrak. Now this is a pulp fantasy inspired story. It's very inspired by things from the early 1900s like Conan the Barbarian and things like that. Those types of stories that would come out in the pulp magazines, pulp fiction. But this is a full-length novel, and it is the first of a trilogy. There are going to be more of these books. So the story is not complete with this single one, but it does have, you know, a resolution that it feels satisfying, but you're going to want to read the next one when you finish this one. And this is, like I said, it's very inspired by things like Conan the Barbarian. I'm not even going to pretend it's not, because that's where I got the inspiration from. But it's a very different kind of story. And it takes place in the same world as The Price of Renewal, my first novel. So it's the same fantasy world. The continents you can see in the front of the book. Now this is a test copy, that's why this band is across it. There are a few things that I've had to fix on the cover. So, but it will look something similar to this. And you can see in the front here we've got some maps, just like the other one, but I made these ones big enough to be able to read. And we have here a new continent that this story is featured on called Urnthol. But here we have the entire world of Urnthol with all the continents. But this expands the world greatly, this story. And we get to see how the effects of the first book that I wrote affect the world at large. There are some characters on the back here who may be some villains of the story, as you'll find out. And they might have a connection to a certain empire from the first book. And they play a very big role in this one as well. Go and get your hands on this. It's out. We've got it in paperback and hardcover, just like the other book. Now, again, these are both test copies, so there's a few mistakes on the cover, but I have corrected those mistakes, and the one that is published online now is the correct versions. And then I decided to go ahead and make the cheaper mass market edition, just like I did with the other novel. Typical practice for publishing and stuff is to release these like a year later after the other ones have been out for a while. But I want to get these books in the hands of as many people as possible. So this is already available right now for people who want a cheaper option. But if you want to have the cool books on the shelf, you're definitely gonna want to get the normal versions, because here's how it looks. You can have The Price of Renewal and Wrath of Torrak sitting on your shelf next to each other like this. A great combination. Or of course you can have the paperbacks, and it looks very cool. But you could also go with the mass market editions. They're all the same size. They go together on the shelf nicely, and it's perfect. Now you can see this book is just a little bit shorter than The Price of Renewal. It's a quicker read. It's about, it's somewhere around 390 pages in total. I'm sure the sequels will possibly be longer based on what I have planned for them. This is just a nice way to get into the story. The best part is you do not have to read The Price of Renewal to start this trilogy. This is its own series with its own storyline. They do connect as they're in the same world and there's a little bit of overlap, but you don't need to read that one to understand what's going on in this one. You can just start right here, and it's a great way to get into the world, because it's a shorter read. It's much more action-packed. It's quicker. There's a lot of suspense, and it's moving fast. I would definitely say this is a good place to get started. However, if you've already read the other one, it's gonna definitely add some context to what's going on in this one. So you might pick up on things before they start to get explained. Because in this one, the stuff that's happening is only gonna be explained as the character learns about it, because he is a barbarian from a tribe that doesn't fully understand all of he doesn't know how big the world really is. But as he goes on this journey, he starts to learn the true size of the world and how complex it is, and then the reader learns as well in the process. I'll read the back real quick for you. Torrak is a warrior of the Kasadinian Clan, proud, brutal, and hardened by the wilds of Iridun. When he slays the Balthrake, a monstrous terror that plagued his people for years, he believes peace may finally return to his tribe. But buried beneath the beast's den lies something far older and far more dangerous, a glowing emerald pulsing with a sickly green light. He brings it back to camp. Then everything falls apart. Thrown into a storm of blood and fury, Torrak sets out on a relentless quest for vengeance. But the path leads... Sorry, there's a band on top of it here. Hold on. But the path leads him far from everything he's ever known, into lands ruled by steel and sorcery, where foreign invaders rule with an iron fist and forgotten powers stir in the shadows. Follow Torrak as he battles through a world more vast and strange than he ever imagined. Will he find the justice he seeks, or will his thirst for revenge consume him? Experience the wrath of Torrak. I will put a little disclaimer. This book, just like the other one, is definitely for an older audience. Now, it's not super graphic. It's not super suggestive. Like, it's not egregious, it's not ridiculous, but there are some themes and there's violence, there's some things, some suggestive themes here and there that are lightly touched on. The violence is pretty descriptive, and the suggestive themes are made clear what it is without getting too descriptive. So, for example, if there's anything that touches on sort of like a sexual tone, possibly, it's not descriptive, but you know what's happening. So just keep that in mind if you're looking to decide, should I get this for my children or something? I would advise, on the internet I have it listed as 17 and up, just because I think that's a safer way to go. But use your own discretion. I think, parents, read it before you have your children read it. I definitely think it's for a mature, maybe your teenagers if they're like particularly mature, but I do say 17 and older is probably who should be reading it. But again, like there's one or two instances of like sexual themes, and it's not descriptive at all. It's just like, what's going on. It's descriptive in enough of a way to have you know what's going on without having to describe all of the details and stuff, because I have no interest in putting that in my story. If it serves the purpose of the story, I will make it clear what's happening, but this is not a romance novel. I don't care to put a bunch of that in it. But the violence is there. The violence is descriptive. I'm a fan of action movies and things like that, so I want my books to feel like that. So that is there. So if that's a concern, be warned about that. But aside from that, hope you guys will check it out, and I'm sure you'll love it. So definitely go and get your hands on a copy. The mass market paperback edition is only $10, just like the price of renewal. The regular paperback is $20, and the hardcover is $30. You can get them all on Amazon, and yeah, can't wait for you guys to read it. Thank you.